right, how you guys doing? It's your girl Maya G and
your boy, brother with an open heart, Victor Jr.
And today we're so excited, so excited. Who are we excited to bring today?
The one and only
Matt Gil. Yes, we're bringing you Matt Gil today. He's going to be having a serious discussion today. You know, we love to laugh, we love to have a good time, but today we're going to be talking about some real serious things that are affecting the community, that are also affecting us in the media. So without any further ado, Victor's going to introduce Matt Gil.
And there we go.
Hey, how are you guys doing? Thank you guys for having me. Super excited to be here with you guys. Thank you guys.
Yes, thank you for coming, Matt. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm so super excited to be here.
So today, it's been brought up to our attention. We had other topics in mind to talk about, but behind the set when we started talking, I wanted to kind of get your feedback from another spiritual brother on the recently released video and shoe from hip hop artist, gay representative, Lil Nas. So before we go into that, Matt, even though we're not, really listeners of the artist's music, I think you put out one track that I actually thought was decent.
Right.
I respect everybody coming out the closet, but of course, the spiritual community especially is offended to include the gay spiritual community. And I wanted to, just to respect our listeners to at least say a few words on where we stand as far as that representation goes.
Sure. Yeah, it's I'll be completely honest. I myself haven't been a real big Lil Nas fan. I haven't watched the video. I've intentionally chosen not to. I've seen what like TMZ has reported and what the news media has reported about it, and I've seen little bits and clips of it, and I don't believe that it represents me in my spiritual walk as a gay man. It doesn't represent what I think it really has to me. When I saw it, I was very disappointed because I think that we have gone and fought so hard to especially within the not necessarily the spiritual community, but in the religious community of, you're going to go to hell, you're going to go to, you're condemned to a life of misery. And we fought so hard to show and to up-level us as a community. And I think that video and feeds into everything that we fought up against.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely on point on that. And it's right before the interview, I wanted to, because I'm very particular and picky on what I watch, just the same as what I consume, eat, listen to. I'm very picky with that. And the more spiritual I've become, the even more stricter I've gotten, So I was trying to sit through 30 seconds of the video. I only made it past 5. It was really that triggering and very disruptive, spiritually speaking. And to know that someone would actually sit there and produce this, and that's the level of disturbance that's going on, it's kind of frightening, honestly. And to represent the gay community at that, it's definitely disturbing.
He doesn't represent me at all.
Not at all.
I did actually like Lil Nas. I didn't really know too much about what he was truly about until I heard about the video. I saw a piece of the video, turned it off because to me, that's not what I believe in. And what really disturbs me the most is there's a lot of teenagers and kids that are looking up to him. And he's basically sending the message of, if this is the lifestyle you want, then this is the lifestyle you got to lead with this. And we're here to say, no, that's not true. That's not the truth.
Right.
I believe in God 100%. I could care less about Satan, demon, whatever, hell.
I don't even believe in all that, honestly, not putting it out there. I don't believe in that, and Satans and devils. I just don't function that way. And I find that to be psychologically, spiritually very healthy. I don't carry that energy that, oh my God, I'm going to go to hell and this is going to happen. I don't understand. It's crazy that we're still feeding into that. And it's unfortunate that we have, and he's so young. He's really not that old. He's a young, I don't know what, 23, 24.
Yeah, he's a young guy.
He's very young. And to be kind of still putting that information out into the universe, you know, I wanted to get the opportunity to at least have a discussion with another spiritual brother and kind of get their feedback on that.
Especially you who are on social media, who pushes people to put their face out on social media, to be active. And, you know, you have that stop the scroll. Well, he stopped the motherfucking scroll.
Well,
but in the wrong way.
Right. It was unfollow.
And here's the thing. So I teach people to be disruptive, you know, in your marketing, in your messaging. You're, you know, in a space that is very busy with, you know, everybody competing against your time. People, like, social media is time. Social media is, you know, the scroll. How many times are you watching the tick go down the rabbit hole of TikTok videos, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, let me watch one video, and half an hour later you're like, I need to put the phone down, right? So it's your time. People are competing against your time, and your job is to get them to stop their scroll. Is to get them to stop. And one of the techniques is by being disruptive. Is he disruptive? Yes. Now you have the responsibility, once you get somebody to stop, what's your messaging? What's the message behind what you're saying? And are you feeding people the right stuff? Are you feeding? So now let's go into his message, and what that is, you know, you are, how we think, our mindset is based on the information that we give it. Just like our body runs on the nutrients that we give our body. If we're eating healthy, if we're eating our vitamins and our vegetables and all the good stuff for us, our body runs more optimally. When we start putting in crap and we start putting in a lot of the carbs and the sugars and stuff, our body has to fight even harder just to survive and to operate. The same goes with our mind. It goes with our spirituality. If you're reading books that feed your soul, if you're listening to music that lifts you up, you're going to live a life that is happier, that is has more peace of mind, where you're going to create a bigger impact in other people's lives, versus where if we listen to something such as what Lil Nas produced, you're inviting that type of activity, you're inviting that type of energy, yes, into your heart and into your soul. Now, I believe in evil. I believe there is evil out there, and I believe that when we watch things like that, it invites the evil into your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't call it evil. I call it energy. I do believe that there is such a thing as, you know, negative energy, positive energy, dark energy. I believe in that. You know, I just don't call it Satan and all that other stuff, because that was so religious.
Right.
So, you know, but yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Yeah.
And that grows, you know, it's just like, you know, the more that you watch it, the more that you feed it. Just like when you plant a seed and you're watering and you're nurturing it, it's going to grow based on what it's been given. And so for me, you know, my journey, listen, I'm 45 years old. I did not come out gay.
You look good.
Thank you.
You look good. Yes.
I didn't come out publicly as gay until I was 44.
It's a single man, just to let you know.
Right.
I know. Right. Put it out there.
And I've never tried to hide it. So those that knew me knew. But I never publicly came out and talked about it until last year. It was March 1st, 2020 at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I went on to say, listen, I remember, because here's what happened. The minute that I came out publicly and I did that video, it gave me a sense of freedom that I haven't felt before. Nice. It allowed for me to openly talk about it without having to worry about other people's thoughts. And not all of my family knew. Not all of my family. I mean, they may have known. They may have questioned. My opinion was always, if they ask, I'll tell them. Otherwise, you know, they'll figure it out. But it allowed for me just to have different conversations with people. There was no more of the question, but it allowed for me to be a space of healing for others. And I kind of prefaced it in the sense of, we all walk around with secrets that we're afraid to share. Mm-hmm. And this is a secret, per se, that I had been walking around with. And what if we were to truly walk around without the secrets anymore? How much more powerful would your life be? How much more freedom would you experience? And I can tell you that on March 1st, that is the day that I gave myself freedom, because my life has completely changed from doing that.
Yeah, you just seem more present from the time when I first met you. You seem more in charge, more empowered than when I first met you, and I salute you on that. Because to be a public figure, a lot of people are gonna be looking at you, young men, young women that are going through their own struggles, and they're looking at you and they're like, this guy had the courage to come out. I mean, even though it was later on in life, but we're part of a different generation. Now everybody's out. When I was growing up, being gay was taboo. It was a problem. Like it was as if the rejected one, or you're only gay if you're unattractive, or you're gay because you're this, you're that. Something's wrong with you. So I'm definitely honored to have you here, and definitely honored that you were able to do that.
Well, I want to ask both of you guys. Now, I know that that's going to be used against the gay community. This whole thing is, but I personally, from my personal sense, there's bad people even in some churches, and I'm going to say that I'm probably going to upset people, but there's a lot of bad people even in some churches.
That church, that's bad people in churches.
Yeah,
like, that's
right.
Like, how you gonna upset anybody? That's reality.
Right.
And there's bad people everywhere all the time, but he does not represent all of us.
Right.
I don't think he represents even
Anybody,
2-3% of us.
And my thing is, to those who are struggling with their sexuality, even teenagers, young men and women, choose your path wisely. And by all means, he does not represent you in any way, shape, or form. And that's not what's going to happen to you. That's not the lifestyle that I choose to lead, right? And Matt.
And I think that, there is such a thing as dark night of the soul that I believe that a lot of people go through. Once you start attracting certain type of energy based on your life path, that's what I believe. Based on your life path, it's going to put you in situations to where it's going to wake up the things about yourself that you need to heal. So as far as I'm concerned, there's possible that he's trying to heal himself. And this could be, some of the things that he deals with. But I think that it was tasteless the way he decided to publicize it. He could have still used all the same element and probably put himself a different way, just to kind of address the fact that there are demons within himself that he had to fight, or still fighting, in order for him to get to the other side. Because none of us here sitting here, you can't even consider yourself spiritual unless you went through some real stuff, because it requires you to go through a lot to come here and be able to talk to people about your insecurities and your journey and coming out and all this other stuff. Like, you don't do that out the bat. So am I on point with that, Matt? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. You have to, all of us in our spiritual journey face the light and the dark, and you have to be able to embrace both. And there is another way that I believe he could have created, that had some of the visuals, had some of the impact that he had, but in a more forward moving way. That also goes through and could have been used as a piece to empower our community, to empower that, just as you said, that we all have demons that we're working through. For me, it was my crystal meth and not loving myself. I used crystal meth for 6.5 years of my life because I didn't love myself. I wasn't happy with who I was. And so instead, and I didn't want to hurt. And so suicide wasn't necessarily an option because I didn't want to die. I just didn't want to hurt. So crystal meth allowed for me to not feel anything, have a false sense of empowerment, and figuring I can do this. I was losing weight. I got to a point where I was 125 pounds at 5'10". I had a 20 face. I thought I looked sexy, but actually when I go back and I look at the pictures now, like I look sickly.
You look like a crackhead.
Yeah. But I still had all my teeth. I still had all my teeth, and I was functional. Like, I was very mindful of, I didn't want to look like a junkie. I didn't want to have that. So I needed to, I still kept my job up until towards the end of that period.
How long ago was that?
17 years ago. 17 years ago.
Wow. So what was the turning point? Like at what point you said, okay, that's it. I gotta call this thing in. I'm done.
Yeah. So I had actually lost my job and lost my apartment, and I had everything in a storage unit, and I was sitting on my friend's couch. I had been up for about 3 days. Within those 3 days, all I ate was a double cheeseburger from McDonald's and an ice cream cone. And I was walking through his living room, and he had this full-length mirror, and I saw my reflection. And as I looked at myself, I heard a voice that said, "This is not who you are." And it was one of those voices that it's not the normal voice that you hear. It's like one of those that just shakes you to your core, where you know, okay, something greater than me is talking to me right now. And I broke down and I fell down on my knees, and I just was wailing. I was crying. I was just like releasing. And I said a prayer, and I'll never forget. I said, "God, if you're real, if you are still there, send me some help."
Wow. Just got
And that was actually the day that I turned on the television, and I was introduced to Lisa Nichols.
Nice.
And Lisa was doing a show called the Starting Over House. And at the moment when I saw her on the show, I watched and I said, someday I'm going to work with that lady. And I didn't, at the time, I meant that I wanted her to be my coach. I wanted her to help. She was going to help me somehow.
You know, you have to be specific on your ask.
Right. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. I didn't know,
right?
How that was going to happen. And so I just said, there's something about like her authenticity, the way that she coached, the way that she brought a lesson to life, just, it made sense to me. And so about 6 months later, a friend of mine gave me the movie The Secret. And as I was watching The Secret, all of a sudden, lo and behold, there she was. And I got excited. And I was like, oh my God, that's that lady that I sent. And I was like, this lady is going to help me. This lady is going to do something. Like, I just felt really, truly connected to her. So about a year later, I had started my getting my life together. I had completely left Hollywood, because at the time I was living in Hollywood, I was into the nightlife and into the hanging out at the parties and the hills and doing the drugs and all of that. And so I had got my life together. I had been clean. I moved out of town, and a friend of mine had sent me an email asking if I wanted to go to a taping of a TV show for a talk show for a lady by the name of Lisa Nichols. And I was like, God, what is that? Why does that name sound familiar? And I was
wow. So wait a minute, Matt, I'm gonna pause you right there. So are you telling me, despite what I've been told, miracles happen for gay people too? Is that what you're saying?
Hell yeah.
Okay, Matt. Oh, okay. Manifestation happen for gay folks too? Okay, I'm just checking it.
Right. Put a point in that one.
Oh, there you go.
So I as soon as I saw the name, I was like, God, it sounds familiar. And I went online and I looked, and there was a video of Motivating the Teen Spirit. And when I watched the Motivating the Teen Spirit promo video, every part of my body was just getting excited and was just like, that's what you're supposed to be doing. So I called my friend. I said, give me 4 tickets. I'm coming down. I went to the taping of the show, and we were late. We weren't going to get sat down, and they ended up having 4 seats for us in the VIP section right behind her family. And we saw the show. We saw 2 tapings. At the end of the show, I went to go meet her because I needed to tell her about how she kept showing up in my life. I needed to thank her for being there. And the security guard stopped me. And the security guard said, I'm sorry, this is for VIP only. And I said, I'm just going to take 2 minutes. I just need to. And here's the lesson that I realized is that sometimes our breakthroughs, sometimes the things that we need are just steps away from us. And then something blocks us. Something stops us from having access to what we need in our life or what we're supposed to go for. So
repeat that one more time for the audience if they might have missed it.
Yep. Sometimes something gets in our way and stops us. Our job is to keep pushing. Yes. And so I told my friend, I said, distract the security guard. Ask him where the bathroom's at. And she goes, I don't have to go to the bathroom. I said, you have to go to the bathroom. Ask him where the bathroom's at. So she did. And the minute she started talking to him, I snuck around the back. I climbed up where the seats are and the scaffolding.
The third door.
Yep. I jumped over the scaffolding. I walked in front of Lisa and I said, hi, my name is Matt. I said, I don't mean to scare you. I know you don't know who I am, but you keep showing up in my life. And I saw the video of you motivating the teen spirit, and I want to be a part of it. And she just kind of looked at me. She didn't say anything. I thought, shit, I'm in trouble. Like, she started crying. And I was like, oh, great. What did I do? And then she said, I've been praying that God would send me men, because a man can speak differently to a young man than if a woman speaks to a young man. And she said, I've been praying that God would send me generals. And I said, Lisa, you don't know the journey that I've been on. I said, I just actually climbed right back there. I climbed those stairs and jumped over to get to you right now. And that was the beginning of me working with her. See a really raw and unscripted version of Lisa. So Lisa, one of the things that I love in looking at the comments is the amount of youth that have been coming on and leaving comments. Bruno in Brazil, who's 16 years old, wrote in a question, and Brandon, who you've heard me talk about before, also has asked the same question. And as I read the question, it really applies to a lot of people as well.
How old is Bruno and Brandon? So
Bruno is 16 and Brandon is also 16 as well.
Wow.
Totally two different places. But they both asked around the same question, is how do you stay positive when you live in a negative environment and you can't get out of it?
So first, I would say to Bruno and Brandon and anyone else, because that's not just a challenge at 16.
Right.
You know, that's a challenge at 6.
Right.
That's a challenge at 26. That's a challenge at 46. Could even be 66.
Right.
So.
Well, because a lot of times we sometimes get stuck in relationships or in environments where we feel trapped.
Marriages, families. So if you're in an environment that's negative, and you can't move right now, number one, I would say to Brandon and to Bruno and anyone else who needs to hear this message, that your now is not your forever. So it's important right now for you to do that thing that I used to always do when I was living in Inglewood, and I love Inglewood, nothing's wrong with Inglewood. I just had a lot of chaos in my life when I lived there. I kept reminding myself what I will recommend that you remind yourself. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train coming at you. It really is light. Now, sometimes the light is glaring and it's big because it's closer.
Right.
And sometimes the light is just an absolute flicker because it's further off.
Right.
Your job is to know you might not be able to run like an Olympic athlete that fast. You may not be able to trot. Some days you're just doing a walk.
Right.
And some days you might just be doing a crawl. But if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, if you keep doing it, it's not about your speed.
Right.
It's about your consistency. You keep checking into this channel. You keep hooking your caboose to trains like this, trains like you. Then that one step, you know, I can't remember who said this quote, forgive me, but they say the journey of 10,000 miles starts with one step.
And I worked for her for 14 years, side by side, traveled the world with her, spoke on international stages, taught next to her. But it was my willingness. The thing was, it was my willingness to fight for myself. It was my willingness of seeing that's my answer and going for it and not letting anything stop.
Yep, that's it, the willingness, and that's what we all need to just
Yes.
keep on willing. Is there anything that you want to announce? What are you doing right now that you would like to let our audience know?
Oh, Lord Jesus. So after 2020, I think last year was a year of just getting to know me again. and what does Matt want? You know, what does Matt want to create? I feel very lucky that we had last year in some ways. I mean, there was a lot of tragedy, a lot of moments that were, you know, hurtful, but there was a lot of growth as well. So this year is really creating bigger impact. I am on a mission to help people share their story. I'm on a mission to help people stop the scroll and create the impact that they know that they've been designed to. I'm on a mission to help people create the content that their hearts have been desiring to put out there.
And how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can go to www.iclaimvictory.com and schedule a call. So I'm coaching with people. I'm building another project. So I've got a couple of projects that I can't talk about yet that are super exciting. But my job is really just to create bigger impact with people. And you can also find me on Instagram, Matteo Gil, MatteoGil. Let's stay connected, and let me help you tell your story as well.
All right, Matt, before you go, three things that I want you to leave the audience with. That's going to be impactful, that's going to be memorable, and life transforming.
One, it'd be the lesson that I wish somebody had, not even somebody, because if I said that somebody told me or somebody, I would put it on them. If the lesson that I wish I had learned a long time ago was that I am enough. So you are enough. No matter how, like right now, how you are enough. Period. No, with nothing else, you're enough. 2, stop worrying about other people's opinions. If they're not feeding you, financing, or fucking you, it don't matter. Sorry about that little drop.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. It's grown folks. Grown folks radio.
Listen, if they're not doing the 3 Fs, then it doesn't matter. And number 3, stay present. Stay present to the moments of your life, because I think that there are so many moments that I missed that were joyful moments, that were moments, but I was always in the fight to get to the next, that I missed the now. Does that make sense?
Of course.
So stay present.
Yes. Wow, Matt, thank you so much. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us in Spiritual Agility. This won't be the last interview. This one was impromptu. We had in mind to interview for something completely different, but this was definitely divinely guided. So we're gonna go with that. Thank you so much for your time. I know you have another engagement to get to. Yeah. Thank you. And that's it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Until next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye.